you. How's it going, folks? It's Sunday night, and we're back to the 60s with your Doobie Brothers delight. No, I'm only kidding. It's Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton and Fanfare for the Common Man, a 1963 special from the Big Finish main range. But before we get to that, now let's get to this. It's your panel for this evening. Oh, looky who we have here. It's Elijah from Minnesota. It's been a while, Elijah. How goes it?
Pretty good, Graham. Glad to be back.
Good to see you, mate. Always nice when you jump in from time to time. Early doors on a Monday morning, so early that it was before I even zonked it last night. What a call. It's AJ. How's the fun, AJ?
Good. Happy Ren season.
There you go. That's for you, Stephen Price. Joining us from Tottenham, lighting his doobie, it's Philip Archer. How are you going, Phil?
Hello, William.
Good to see you, mate. Now that I'm a bit more awake. All the way from Techico, he has a beard that must be feared. It's Texas Timwells. How's it going, Timbo?
How you doing?
Good. I'm a lot better. And joining us from NYC, lamenting the fact that my Jets just get pumped after patch as well. It's Will. How you doing, big man?
Hey now, fuck you, God, fucking New England.
Yeah, there you go. So, guys, Fanfare for the Common Man. The first of three 1963 specials during the anniversary year. For Doctors 5, 6 and 7, and first up it's Turner, Peter Davison and a Beatles rip-off timeline and dodgy managers galore from another planet with Sarah Sutton as Nyssa also. So where do we go with this? Opening thoughts. Philip, you've been bitching about this all week. Opening thoughts, Fanfare for the Common Man. Proceed.
I will continue to bitch about it as I started. I couldn't get through this one. I did get through it, but it's so convoluted, so it's uninspiring for me. It's the most uninspiring ever. Although I appreciate the Beatles' analogy to it, it just wasn't a very interesting story. It was very bland for me, unfortunately.
Okay. Yeah. There you go, Phil. Okay. AG, what do you reckon, mate?
I actually like this story. It was really well done. I like the fake music for the Common Man. It was very fitting for the time period because it's kind of hard to write from one perspective a song from the 60s, really, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the sound of it and the feel of it. But I think they did it well, and I liked how basically within the first few minutes, Nyssa and the Doctor are separated, and they've got their own adventures, which was cool. Standard
Doctor Who formula for the most part, indeed. Well, opening thoughts for you. Fanfare for the Common Man.
I can understand that they're doing this as you can say, as a tribute to the Beatles like that, and part of the 50th anniversary line.
Mm-hmm.
But I got a little bit agree with Phil, man. It wasn't that great because after the second chapter, it really built up. So that's why I don't say it's bad as cryptobiosis bad, but about
nothing is cryptobiosis bad.
So, but it could have been better. One thing that annoyed me was when doing a serious conversation, either could have been with Nyssa or with the Doctor or somebody, you always have that 60 music background playing around it, and sometimes it makes me almost miss the sentence that was being talked. So I had to rehear it again. So I got a little bit annoying like that. I can understand, and the plot was a little bit simple that a busybody from another planet decided to interrupt the Beatles timeline, create his own group for them for some funny reason that combined they will give him the power that he could control everything like that, which wasn't really explained by the Doctor like that, or how was that possible like that. So of course the Doctor had to try his best to try to fix history to what it originally was. And of course doing the story, we get little bits of what happened to the Beatles for real, like when they played with Ed Sullivan in New York.
Yep.
And of course how they met each other and the other people that came in for the band like that but didn't work out, and then of course when they separated. So it was pretty good that you see certain points of the Beatles history going in this, man. But that background music really pissed me off though. But it was a simple plot, but it was. I'm not saying it's a great story though.
No, okay, fair enough, mate. Timbo, you normally sit down and do these one shot on a Sunday. How was this for you? 4 parts in one day.
I agree. It wasn't bad at all. It was a little fun. I thought the music in the background was kind of funny because they were actually miming some actual Beatles songs, which they were used as background music rather than actual performances or something. which I thought was kind of cool. But I get the point that it's not the best story ever. But it was an enjoyable enough listen for a couple of hours. I think I thought that it was what was outstanding to me was the fact that the Doctor he says towards the end something that, you know, it's all chance, isn't it? I mean, because it could have been any other band as well at the time, but it was just a number of conditions that made the Beatles the phenomenon that they are and continue to have been throughout history. I mean, they're like they bring up Elvis a couple of times. They do have that. Everybody knows who they are. I mean, in other words, there was no other band that achieved what they did during that time. And a lot of it is just chance because there were so many bands vying for that position. So this is an example where somebody does something with a timeline and changes it, and somebody else is getting all that attention, which is kind of cool because this was the song that Susan was listening to in her classroom, the very first episode. That was that great, supposedly. So, I mean, that was pretty fun that they threw that in there. But yeah, I mean, it's not the best story ever, but it's hardly the worst. It was a lot of fun. I mean, for what it was.
I probably concur with that analogy, Tim. Okay, mate. Elijah, a resident Beatles aficionado. How did you take this? Opening thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's not a great story, but it's a fun listen for someone, me being a huge Beatles fan, and to pick out all the little Easter eggs and stuff. For instance, the first one they come up with is the girl that's with Davison. Her name is Rita. Yep. And, and then, the Indian guy, they played on the whole Ravi Shankar thing, which I thought was kind of cool. And then also, saying one of the members, died. They, pulling on the whole Paul is dead. And that guy James going into plastic surgery. Also, you had the little mention of Doctor in Distress, which was mentioned as well. And also, I thought it was cool how they, what happened if the Beatles weren't, they weren't that group. And nice touch how they said Ringo wasn't well enough to join them as he had health issues, which is true. So a fun listen, especially for all the Easter eggs. Not one that, is spectacular, but a great listen.
Okay, mate, thank you. And I'd probably concur with that with regards to my opening thoughts to this story. As always, the leads are brilliant. It's a nice wee pastiche, well, I wouldn't use a pat, but it's a nice homage to the Beatles, where they took a time period in history and they put their own Doctor Who spin on it for the 50th range that year. It's a decent listen. It's only 2 hours. No, even that, I don't think, is it? An hour and 40.
Yeah, an hour and 40.
But whatever it is. So it's an hour and 40 minutes, 4 parts. I do tend to agree with Phil, though. I really enjoyed part 1. When part 2 came along and then you found out they were aliens, you're like, here we go. This thing's been done to death. But, there were some nice points in there. The corrupt manager, Lenny Kruger, I thought was quite good, even though at times he sounded like Gilbert frickin' Godfrey to me. But, he was kind of fun as the supposed antagonist to the piece. And as Elijah pointed out, you've got various Easter eggs. You've got Mark living in his apartment in New York, surprisingly, as well. So, his memories. So, yeah, it's fun. If you're a Beatles fan and a Doctor Who fan, you might get a kick out of this, but as the guys have alluded to, by far, they're the best. Right, guys, any events or characters that stood out for you within this tale? Well?
Yeah, I liked it, Sadie. I liked her a lot.
Who played Sadie? And Rita, might add.
They were both played by Alison Thayer Scott.
There you go.
I mean, I liked her because because of course in doing when she stayed back when the doctor told Rita to stay back, she became like a journalist, for having interviews with those guys like that. It was pretty good. And then, of course, the other character that she played was Sadie. She was always helping Lenny. Yeah, she was a bitch helping Lenny like that. What was unusual was, I don't know what happened to Sadie at the end of the story, though, because we know what happened to Lenny because everything got changed. So what happened was put back. So I don't know what happened with Sadie, though.
Was she at the concert at the end when the Beatles came on stage? I'm pretty sure she was. She's another fan. Because by the end of the story, they were essentially the warm-up act,
Yeah.
So,
but the good thing is that lucky the doctor told Rita to she should be a writer like that. So probably, she followed up the alternate timeline, kept doing the interview, which was pretty good.
All right.
Another one that's Nyssa I gotta give props because she went back in time and dealt with the situation. You know, she was in Germany at that, dealing with that, and helping Korky, because she was able to find out that he was an alien and all that. And then of course she was able to pick up the language of Germany pretty good, and she said it was pretty easy to do. So she stood out pretty good right there. I mean, whether if she would have ended up staying there for years, that would have been a real weird thing for her, because that means she would have to earn an income like that and probably even have a relationship with somebody.
Well,
that would have been weird.
Wunderbar in Germany. All right, Elijah, anything stand out for you in this one, man?
I guess I'd have to say, Nyssa's whole side adventure, I think, was a little more interesting than the Doctor's adventure. But yeah, I mean, I just listened to it today, so this was like a re-listen. So kind of, it needs more than 2 listens to, make it stick. But
pick everything up. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Cool. AJ, anything stand out for you, mate?
Yeah, a few things. One, I like the fact that Nyssa was the woman of action in this story, chasing after the guy with the gun and wrestling him to the ground. I thought that was pretty cool. It was very uncommon for her to do that back in the day. Also, the Queen doing the twist in her little box and then throwing a ring at the common men at the end of the...
It was the Queen Mother, wasn't it?
Queen Mother,
yeah. I just thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was quite funny. Good, mate. All right, Phil, anything at all stand out for you, even though it was contrite?
I totally forgot about that part about the Queen of Living, but yeah, that was a funny part.
I know, Bertie. Yeah.
I did enjoy though how they made the alien common men come across like the actual Beatles with their accents and things like that. I did like that, because that was well put together, I think. And but for the most part, there wasn't really anything that stood out for me per se. I just thought that putting that band together like that was quite a good idea.
Okay. Timbo, you're up, mate. What do you reckon?
I thought it was interesting that the Doctor, he's a traveler, and this is a situation where he finds out there's something wrong with a particular timeline, but it just concerns a pop group. I mean, that you'd think that'd be kind of below his pay grade, but I mean, it's a thing though where it's because it's the Beatles, and the Doctor actually likes the Beatles, so he wants to find out what's the deal, and so he goes back to 1960 to see where things changed. And I thought that was pretty clever. I mean, I didn't know that bit about the conscription ending in that year or whatever, the years it took up for them to stop that, and they
the military service, the national service, yeah.
They took a little dig at the war for that. I mean, so
Vietnam,
which is appropriate. But I thought that was the most interesting thing about the whole experience, was that you would think that would be somebody that travels in time sees discrepancies in timelines all the time, and you think but because he actually likes the Beatles, he says, I want to find out what's going on here, because he was taking Nyssa to see them when they first popped on the scene. Which that's another thing about this story too, is the Beatles weren't really yet the Beatles. They were on their way to being that phenomenon. They're not really yet when this story is taking place. It's 1963, so that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, that is an interesting concept. I agree with Tim that this particular portion is time warped, So and you've got to do that. But what I would say is the 3 common men. Who played them? You had Korky. Well,
the 3 common men. What Mark was Mitch Ben. Yep. James was Andrew Knott, and Korky was David Dobson.
Interesting that there were 3 of them, and I also like the fact that this was part audio story, part documentary style, especially when you were hearing stuff from Mark's point of view. That was quite interesting for me. But the guys are right, there is better stories out there, but this isn't bad. If you're a Beatles fan like Elijah, you'll enjoy all the wee Easter eggs, and we'll see how we go. So, nice stuff. Right, guys. Open mic portion of the cast. Anything else you want to bring up before we get this rated and in the can?
Well, what stood out was how the Doctor, on the way, destroyed the band by that conspiracy from about Paul McCartney dying, and another person took his place. So he used it by placing a fake body there that was to make it be there was this guy dead like that. Mark. It was weird because because it turned out, we all don't know that's not true that Paul McCartney died. So that's funny that he used something that's an urban myth, myth to solve this thing, which is weird.
Yeah, that's true.
It's also great that the Doctor's been a fan of the Beatles since the first Doctor, because remember he watched them on the time-space visualizer. Now that's not on the DVD because they had to cut it out, but I mean, he was watching them back then. So that was pretty cool.
Okay.
I guess one thing to mention is listening to some of the songs that they made to kind of be Beatles-esque. There were some that kind of sound like Penny Lane, and then the Doctor's like, let's go on a magical mystery tour.
Each girl's going on this one. There you go, yeah. Anyone else, guys?
Well, we knew from the start there was no way, no how that any music from the Beatles was going to be used because of copyright issues like that.
They do actually, though. They use a couple of their actual tunes in the background.
In the background, but I mean, like you don't hear the words or nothing like that.
No. But I mean, you hear like bits of "Come Together."
Yeah.
You hear bits of other songs. Just, I mean, they're not perfect, but they're just kind of like you get what they're doing with it. That's pretty cool.
All right, now.
Sorry.
No, you're all right. That's fine. No, I get where you're coming from. Just unfortunate, the Walls bugbear earlier on in the cast, they mentioned that there were some points where the sound interrupted some of the vocal.
And then in the second chapter, when they were talking, the background music came on a little weird.
Yeah.
You know what? I think for me that was part of my problem when the music sort of like over swamp things.
Yeah.
It kind of put me off what was going on in the story. I'm not saying it was a bad thing, but it's just like that's what put me off. The music kept jumping in and
well, I think that was part of the documentary style, though. You just mentioned as part of how the story is presented.
Yeah. I
don't know. Maybe you're right, but
I mean, but I'm mostly happening in the second chapter. But when the third chapter, in which this guy was having an interview with a girl in the room like that. The sound was more better like that when it was used, so it stood out. So maybe it might have been a little glitch by them. So we finished.
All right. Now, I know I mentioned him earlier, and I quite enjoyed him. Who played Lenny Kruger?
Lenny, he was played by Ryan Sampson.
As I say, the string pulling puppeteer manager in the background trying to get his way. I enjoyed him. Even though
it's weird that he thought that Nyssa was an adjudicator, though.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed him, even though the New York accent wasn't the best for me, but he was good. I enjoyed the guy. He was good. Anything else, guys?
I know he's from another planet like that, but I'd like to know how he was able to get those, you could say, equipment. He could jump in time a little bit like that. Because something like that should have been noticed by the Time Lord that somebody else, another race is jumping in time.
Yeah, sort of the equivalent of a time ring, even though it wasn't a ring, wasn't it?
No.
Okay. Well, I guess that's it. Unless there's nothing else.
Well, the one thing I want to mention, I agree. I didn't like the idea of them being aliens. Maybe if they were like from a parallel universe and something else, they were fake.
Yeah.
They were famous there and they wanted to get their fame back by, taking the place of the Beatles or something. That, to me, would have been a little bit more...
Yeah, that would have been nice. That would have been a better plot.
Yeah, I mean, them being aliens was just too simplistic for me. You're like, but hey, it's a story they wanted to tell.
No, I'll just say my idea is all.
That's fine. That's a good point. All right. If we have covered all the bases, I guess it's that time again.
For the New Zealand's annual sheep shagging contest.
Well, it's a three-way fight between New Zealand, Aberdeen and Wales. Fanfare for the Common Man. Big Finish Main Range. Story number 178. I believe.
73, I think.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Who cares?
Whatever, 177. Don't look it up. Peter Davison and Sarah Sutton. All right, AJ, what do you give us out of 10, mate?
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 because at the very end, the Doctor actually creates John Smith and the Common Man, which is from the very first episode of Doctor Who. So
there you go. Philip, let's go down the grade. What do you get?
I'm going to give it a generous 6. Although it's not a story that I will go back to, it is a story in its own right. So I'll give it that at least.
You okay, mate? Timbo, what's the number of Itekiko this fine Sunday, mate?
I'll give it an 8.5. It was a lot of fun.
Champion. Well, what does New York say, mate?
I'm gonna give it a 7.5. It's not, like I said, it's not a terrible story, but a little nitpick here that knocked it down a peg or two. That's why.
And Elijah, hopefully we'll see you a bit more regularly from time to time. What do you give us out of 10, mate?
It gets 8 days a week.
Oh, we started with a pun, so why not finish with one? And for me, I'll give this what there is actually as many days in a week. I'll give this a 7. Decent enough, but you really have to be into the time period and a big fan of the Beatles to probably enjoy this. If you like sort of simplistic stories, as I said, the leads are fine, but not the best. But still listenable. And with that, guys, bada bing, bada boom. It's a hard day's night, and we're done. It was a hard day's night last night, let me tell you. So it just leaves us to divulge what we're doing next week. It's 1963 all over again for the second time. This time it's for Colin Baker and his Sixth Doctor and Philip.
We are going to do a space race.
Yes, those pesky Russians are at it again, and no, they're not putting us on. So we'll tackle the space race with Colin Baker. Is it who's in that women's? It's not Lisa Greenwood, is it?
No.
Oh.
Nicola Bryant.
That's Nicola Bryant. Oh, there's that. No, it gets a star already.
2 stars.
You get 2 stars.
2 thumbs way up.
Oh my God.
We look forward to tackling that. As always, guys, check out our buddies on the wonderful wackety world of the YouTube. You get the guys involved at Geeks Assemble. You get Dr. Freedom and his daily news broadcast and his Omega Files, as well as the adventures of Dr. Freedom and Eric. You get Sammy Carroll, Johnny Blues, Mike Shannon whenever he's online. Like, share, comment, subscribe, thumbs up, thumbs down. You know the drill by now. We're getting the hell on out of here. I'm going to go into detox. And we will see you.
What a lie.
And we'll catch you next week. Be excellent to yourself, folks, and each other, and we are out of here.
See you.
All the best.